To the football group chat here on LiveDuel today, doing a quick reaction to the Champions League draw that has just happened. To quickly run through Group A, we do have. Actually, let's introduce our guests first. Let's be polite. We've got Luca, who supports Juventus, who aren't in the Champions League, so I don't know why he's here. Luca, how are you doing?
Yeah, all right. You got jokes, don't you?
Yeah, and then for some reason we've got two United fans, even though they're getting knocked out and going into the Europa League by January. So I don't know why they're here, but they're here. Dildo, how are you doing?
I'm all right, you massive slut. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
There we go. And Dan,
I get to react to a Champions League draw with my football club in it. I'm buzzing, mate.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, quickly go through the group stage draw if we can get that up quickly. Group A, we do have Bayern Munich with Manchester United. We'll get into that one later. Copenhagen and Galatasaray also in there. Group B, we have Sevilla, my club Arsenal, PSV and Lens. Group C, we have my other club Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga and Union Berlin. Group D, we have Benfica, Inter, Red Bull Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. Group E, we have Feyenoord, my Dutch team, Atletico, Lazio.
How many teams have you got?
I've got a team for every country. And Celtic, my second team for Scotland after St. Mirren. Big up St. Mirren. Group F, we have the Paris Saint-Germain, the group of death, Paris Saint-Germain, Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle United. Group G, which has almost certainly been fixed, Manchester City, RB Leipzig. I don't know how to say the Serbian word. So
it's Red Star Belgrade, isn't it?
Red Star Belgrade. And Dan's favourite team, the Young Boys.
Yeah!
You too, man.
And then we have Group H, where I think Barcelona may have also fixed it, although they obviously didn't pay as much as Man City. They can't quite cough up that much. Porto, Shakhtar, and Royal Antwerp. There we go. That is the full draw. And we'll start off by going straight in with the group of death. Obviously, just a quick reminder, that is Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan, and Newcastle United. We'll go to Luca. No, we'll do Luca at the end, actually. We'll go to Dylan. Dylan,
yes.
Just your initial... there's always a group of death. Is this one that you're happy with? Do you think this is a really nice competitive group? And a quick prediction on who's going to... No, we'll do predictions at the end.
Okay, my thoughts on the group then. Obviously, you guys will. I know you're going to say Newcastle are going to go through. I don't think there's any chance, to be honest. I don't think there's any chance Newcastle make it out of this group. They haven't got the pedigree for it. Miguel Almiron starting against Rafael Leao. It's no contest. Newcastle are not getting out of it. Milan, Dortmund, and Newcastle. Some of the football is going to be absolutely abhorrent, I think, in some of these group games. I think it's going to be quite close. Obviously, PSG I expect to run away with it, and I do think the other three will be close come the end of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of them, innit? Like, I can't possibly predict that. Like, as much as I've just shot on Newcastle, they can defend well and know how to win a football game, unless they're playing against 10 men against Liverpool. But yeah, it's a pretty tasty group. I've seen better groups of death, but at least one of Dortmund or Milan for me will be going out. So that's hopefully, if we get there, an easier last 16 draw for United. If we get there, which we won't.
Yeah. What I said at the start of the season was that I thought Newcastle would get knocked out of the group stages in the Champions League and go on and potentially win the Europa League, which I think would be great for them. I think their fans would absolutely love that. Get to start in the Champions League, get those Champions League nights, but then go deep in the competition and potentially win it, I think would be an amazing step for them. Dan, do you think that is what is going to be the case for Newcastle? And if not, who's going through with them?
Bro, just flip a four-sided coin, man. This is nuts. This draw is nuts. And do you know at the beginning of the season where, and people still say it now, where we don't know where Newcastle are going to finish in the Premier League just because of the Champions League fixtures, the added competition. I know I wasn't on that fence at all, because a couple of times, like if you get like my favorite team, the Young Boys, at home or something, you can let like Livramento play rather than like a Trippier. They can't do that in this. They can't. Home and away, all 6 games, if I can do my maths properly. It's going to be intense all the way through. I like it as a neutral. I'm going to enjoy this group. I think, are PSG even favourites for that group? Now,
they have to be, surely, man.
Do they?
They have to be, don't they? I mean, like, Mbappe's back playing again. I think he's going to say, just with the quality they've got. I know they make some very weird signings, but I think so. It's a good point, though,
PS
about Newcastle with their fitness and stuff, like having to try so hard in the group that it could potentially derail their Premier League season, which a lot of people always saying it never actually happens. But yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, for sure. We do have some messages in the chat. One from Michael. Would it be fair to say Arsenal got a lucky draw? I'm torn as Sevilla and PSV. I can see being tough games. We'll get on to that later. I don't want to dive straight into it now, but it is a great question, because it's more or less the question that I've prepared for later. And then we've also got James being an absolute dickhead in the chat as usual. Luca, we'll come on to you now and talk AC Milan in that group. Obviously, as a Juventus fan, you'll probably be looking at them, laughing your head off, hoping they finish rock bottom with 0 points. But perhaps as someone who likes the Serie A and wants a Serie A to do well, maybe you will be a bit more supportive. What do you think? Do you think they will go through? Obviously, they can. They've definitely got the ability to go through in that group. But do you think they will?
Obviously, I don't want them to, but I do think they will go through. Yeah, I think it's completely disrespectful, in my opinion, to say Newcastle are a better footballing team than AC Milan. I don't see a world in where they beat them. I genuinely don't. I've seen AC Milan's opening 2 games. Saw Newcastle's opening 2 games, and obviously they were very strong against Villa, but you can still see the difference between Manchester City, a top team, and Newcastle are slowly becoming a top team. And I'm not saying that AC Milan will get a result against Manchester City, but AC Milan are a much better footballing side than Newcastle. I think that the quality they have now in terms of depth is a lot better than last season. They've started the season extremely strong. You see like players like Pulisic firing, who I didn't think would do too well in Serie A, and I didn't think he would adjust that quickly, but he's been great. They got another guy, the guy from Villarreal. Yeah, I can't pronounce his name. They got Loftus-Cheek doing good. They have a very strong back line. I think they've got experience now in Champions League as well. Well, obviously as a club they have experience, but I mean in recent years, because there was a long period of time where they didn't play in Champions League football. So I think they're finding their form again. Obviously they went far last season. But I just think they're going to win. Not to win the group, but I think they're going to finish second, and I think they'd beat Newcastle and Dortmund. I have PSG finishing first still. I do think they're the favourites. I agree with Dylan. I think with the players they have, Mbappe, you can't write them off. Their signings are a little bit odd, but they're getting that French core, I think, and that will help them a lot, because before they just had big names. They didn't really play together as a group too well, but I think now they're going to be a lot well-oiled, and I think PSG are going to be a strong team this season.
Yeah, I think... Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, they're getting the culture back, man. I don't know why PSG didn't start with this. I think they realised over time, but the French talent pool is insane. And they've basically got first dibs on it. And arguably the only dibs in France as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm looking forward to seeing PSG this year, to see how it turns out. I don't know how it turns out, but I like the idea. Would you really be surprised if it was Dortmund and AC Milan that get out of that group? Because I don't think it's that unfathomable that we see that. I do think that these teams are that close. There's a little bit of a rebuild at PSG. How are Newcastle going to adapt to Europe? AC Milan have already got pedigree there, and they've added, like Lucas said, to their squad. And Dortmund know how to get out of the group stage, man. Like, it's going to be interesting, whatever happens.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, PSG, like, in the last few years, used to like always get out the groups, would always get to the quarter semis, never quite really make it. But like in recent years, I feel like they've not even got that consistency where you can definitely say that's what they're going to do now. They've got a new manager in, as you said, a very different squad, a lot of odd signings that could work. So I do guess, like, if you're going to say any year for PSG to knock out the group, this could be it, especially with the group they've got.
Yeah, I think when you look at that as well, you look at Newcastle, not afraid to sit back. Milan will definitely, against a team like that, won't be afraid to. And as Dan said, Dortmund know how to get out of the group, and they are experienced in these big games. Obviously, even with a young squad, most of them have been through the Champions League at least once or twice already. They know how to play these big ties. So it's not a foregone conclusion for PSG. If they slip up in a couple of games, then and like lose, then they're going to be, trying to bring it back. So it's a tough one for PSG for sure. You would say that they're the favourites just based on some of the players they have, the manager they've got and stuff. But it is definitely a tough one. And going back to Milan, as Luca was saying, like they've got some fantastic players. Even though last season I don't think they were at their best, I think coming into this season with the rebuild they've had, obviously they've lost Tonali, but then they brought in some other players and generally strengthened the squad. I think they could be back to the Milan that we saw a couple of years ago, where they won the Scudetto. Hopefully, not quite that good, but Leao doing amazing. Theo Hernandez, that left side is arguably, at least going forward, the best in Europe. And then now they've built up the other side with Chukwueze as well. Yeah, and they've got a very good team. And again, against a team like PSG, they won't be afraid to sit back. They won't be able to be afraid to steal a draw or even potentially nick a win from a game if they have to. They'll play ugly. As is. Well, I don't want to insult the beautiful Italian game, but hey, there's nothing ugly about defending if you do it well.
Do you know what I've just deeped as well? PSG away, Dortmund home and away, Milan home and away. These fans are incredible. These nights are going to be insane, man. Newcastle home and away. Do you know, at night as well, under the lights. Do you know how good this is set up? It's such a good group, man. I hope they're on the opposite week to what United are, so I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, even if they don't get out of the group, like for Newcastle fans being back in the Champions League for the first time in 20 years, going away to Dortmund and Milan alone, like they're like dream grounds. They're like bucket list grounds you want to go to, aren't they? So even if they don't get out of it, what a fucking experience it'll be.
Yeah, because I mean, you can say, "Oh, do you know how formidable Newcastle are at home? Champions League's back. How good the crowd's going to be." If there's a Milan section in the way end, just send it. I'm ready.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, and on that note as well, San Siro, St James's Park, Signal Iduna Park, especially those three. Not that PSG are afraid to make an atmosphere either. Like it'll be.
Spend it, man.
Yeah,
AC Milan fans are going to be up for it because obviously Tonali's going back to San Siro.
Oh my god! Yeah,
a lot of AC Milan fans saw him as a snake at the time. I think they've kind of now understood about AC Milan couldn't. It was kind of AC Milan pushing Tonali out like the money and whatnot. But the one that's going to be bad is Donnarumma going back to AC Milan. He's going to get a lot of shit.
There's going to be fucking riots in some of these games.
He'll make a mistake.
It's going to be unreal.
Yeah, that would be good.
Match-going Milan fans are going to love this draw, aren't they?
And Milan away fans as well are fucking nuts when I've seen them at Old Trafford.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Dortmund at home. Like, it's insane, man. That group's stacked. I love it.
Atmosphere FC.
Exactly. But we'll move on from Milan and talk now about the other teams. We'll do Napoli last, and we'll do Lazio first. They're in a group with Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid, and Celtic. I think that is a very competitive group, and I quite like groups like these where it's like really, again, it's not a group of death because they're not all the biggest, but any of those two can go. Any two out of those four can go through. I think you probably would expect Lazio to, but the European history there isn't exactly great with Lazio. Luca, do you think they can do it? Obviously, Feyenoord went pretty deep last year in Europe. Celtic on a European night is a tough place to go, and Atleti are probably the favourites in that group. But do you think they will go through?
Yeah, I think Atletico will win win that group quite comfortably. Actually, I think they're one of the better teams in the competitions. They're an underrated side to watch out for. I think Lazio are going to struggle. I don't think they're going to go through, man. I think after these first two games in the Serie A, they lost to Lecce and Genoa, two of the worst teams in the league. Like, they've had a nightmare start, and they got a tough game as well this weekend. They're playing Napoli, aren't they? So they're probably gonna take 3 losses in 3 games, which isn't great. Obviously, they lost Milinkovic-Savic, who is their best player. They haven't really replaced him. They brought in Guendouzi the other day, but like Guendouzi,
they've made some decent signings, but like it's not like
but they're not like they haven't really made such an impact yet. Obviously, they got Rovella from Juventus, who's a good young player, but they haven't improved the team in the sense they got a good coach. But I think they're going to struggle. Obviously, the Champions League group stages games are in like September, October, November, so they can improve by then. Obviously, pick up some form. But as of now, I think they're going to struggle to get out that group stage, and I wouldn't say they will after watching their first 2 games because they were very, very bad.
Yeah, no, I would be inclined to agree. I think Atleti are the strongest team in there, and I think Feyenoord will be my favourites at least to come second in that group. We'll do quick predictions from Dan and Dill. Dill, you go ahead.
On this group, I know you said all 4 teams can go through, but let's be real, lads. Celtic are not getting out of that group. They will struggle to get a point.
Passion.
They are shite though. Scottish football's shite. Let's just call it how it is. They're not getting out of that group. They're not going to compete. They never have. Even when they were actually okay, they've never really competed at the Champions League level, and now the Scottish League's worse than ever, and they've got no chance. With that group, with all of my European football knowledge, as you know, I will go with Atleti to top the group. I'll go Feyenoord, Lazio, and Celtic in that order.
You agree, Dan? With the prediction, not everything he said.
I think Lazio are a little bit frustrating, I think, because any time I don't know, a more cultured club, if you like, gets through to the Champions League, one evolved, one that used to be good, I'm always like a little bit intrigued to see what they would do in the summer. And when you lose someone like Savic, the idea when you get into the Champions League is our fundamentals are here, our squad's here, now let's push on. And they've arguably gone backwards. It's frustrating at this point in time, but they could get through. Like Luke said, there's loads of time between now and the first game. So maybe I do like Feyenoord though, Sangara FC me, but he's there. He's locked in for like another 5 years now. But yeah, I like the way they're set up.
I think Forest are trying to buy him actually. Sorry.
Forest are after everyone. He's a sensible signing for anyone in Europe. Honestly, he's that good.
Sangare could be off to Forest. It's like they're doing it again, aren't they? They're signing every fucking player known to man. I'm sure that he was linked to Forest today.
Yeah.
No,
they attempted to get Amrabat, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's 2 of 3, isn't it? Celtic bottom with a sneaky point at home against Feyenoord or something. But yeah, the rest is up for grabs, I think.
Yeah, it's a shame we didn't get Celtic Barcelona run back, that absolute classic.
I think Atletico will drop points, but I think they're comfortably the favourites.
Yeah, I think they've actually improved as of late. Like what Griezmann's doing there is absolutely fantastic. The second half of last season, especially, and I think they're starting to cook. But yeah, I've not watched loads, but from what I've seen, like they're starting to look good. So they could clean up, but I think, or they could be quite difficult for them. But I think either way they'll go through, and then it's a bit of a toss up for the rest of it. Inter as well. Again, I'll come to Luca. In there with Benfica, who they obviously knocked out in the quarterfinals last season through a lot of very questionable refereeing, in my opinion. But a tough game nonetheless. Real Sociedad as well, a tough game, but one you would probably expect, and Salzburg in there as well, but a group you probably would expect them to top, Luca?
Oh, yeah, Inter are going to win that group easily. Like, they're by far the best team in that group. They're the best team in Italy. They're going to win the league as well. They are. Well, they are. They just are.
No.
They are. They're the best team. They're the best Italian team right now. They've strengthened their team so much. I mean, bringing in Pavard as well at the back is
can't
is
call yourself the best if you're not the champions. Just.
But the current champion. Well, the current champions are Napoli, of course, but I think Inter are a much stronger team. They brought in Pavard, they brought in Thuram, they brought in Frattesi. I think they've strengthened their team a lot. They got much better depth. I can't see them dropping many points in that group, to be honest. I think they'll go unbeaten. I don't think they'll lose a game in that group. They'll probably draw an away game or two, but they're by far the best team. And in terms of second place, I don't know. I don't really watch Portuguese football, or I'm not going to lie, but Benfica last season, they were pretty strong. I don't even know who's going to fucking finish second. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I've watched those other 3 teams week in, week out. But Inter are definitely going to top the group.
I think Sociedad are a strong team. I watched them a few times last season. They impressed me. But again, similar to Luke, I can't sit here and say, wow, one of those is definitely going to finish second. I think it's a bit of a toss-up. Salzburg can also do something. They often do like to do a shock in European football. So it's not like it's not competitive, but I would agree with Luca that Inter would certainly be the strong favourites for that, especially with what they did last season in Europe, getting to the final and then putting up a really good performance in the final. Inzaghi just has that drilled with them, and I think. Dan, do you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I don't care what Spanish teams come out and get into the Champions League group stage, because it's the same all the time. It's the culture in Spain. They will control games. They will be brave. They will get on the ball. Any Spanish side is a horrible, horrible team to get throughout European football. I mean, you could argue about the quality, and obviously you should, as like say for Inter, they will fancy themselves home and away. Of course they will. The quality on show, the individuals on show. Obviously, you have to favour Inter. But when that ball kicks off and you can't get the ball for 20 minutes, you're like, oh, we're in for a bit of a game here. I hate Sevilla. He's a United fan. Like these types of teams where you think, oh, your favourites, you go man for man. You try and pick your combined 11 and one Sevilla player sneaks in and then they keep the ball for 30 minutes. I mean, this is just Spanish culture, how they play football. They're brave in Europe, always have been. For me, probably Sociedad and Inter, to be honest.
Yeah. No, Benfica. Then again, they'll do
Yeah.
Europe. Dill.
Got Di Maria back as well. He's clutch, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Inter will easily walk the group, and then it's a toss-up between Benfica and Sociedad for me. I just kind of echo what Dan says. Like any Spanish team in European competition, especially knockout phases against Man United, is always very strong no matter who they've got. So Sociedad aren't going to be a walkover as a 4 seed by any means, but I'll go in go through. And you know what? I'm going to say Sociedad as well, just because I'm not scared of Spanish teams.
It's PTSD as United fans, man. You come up against the Spanish side. It's just never. Oh, Villarreal of old.
Well,
Deportivo.
We struggle
I can't handle them, man.
Really, every team we struggle against. I think we beat Betis 4-1 at home, and I nearly shat myself.
Speaking of Spanish teams, we have the kings of Spain when it comes to European football. Real Madrid tied in a group with Napoli. So it's when Real Madrid came up, I was just hoping for some weak teams, and not to disrespect Braga or Union Berlin.
It is Union Berlin,
as James corrected me on. Not to disrespect them, but they were certainly like two that you would expect Napoli to beat. But this tie with Real Madrid is really exciting for me because last year when Napoli were on top form, I was like, I'm not even afraid of Real Madrid. Now, Kim's gone. It's slightly different. Obviously, a couple of players have come in, but it's Napoli so far haven't looked quite at their best. But I'm excited for it. I feel like the Bernabeu is just one of those arenas that when your team walks out there, it's going to be a big night, and just hoping for a miracle. I don't think it would be a miracle if Napoli got a draw from it. If they won, maybe more of like a big shock, sure. But it's this thing. Napoli in the group stages often like to turn up and go ham early in the season. It's usually second half of the season where it all falls apart. So I've got, I wouldn't say confidence, but I'm not as scared as maybe I should be. I'm just excited for it though. I think Napoli go through from the group, so I'm happy with the draw. But that tie against Real Madrid, I'm really excited for. Luca, I doubt you're going to say yes, but do you think Napoli can do it?
Well, I think you've been disrespecting Union Berlin after they signed.
I agree.
Bonucci. They signed Bonucci today. I think they have to top it now.
No.
I do think though, like
they're a decent team.
Yeah, like I've just looked at the squad. Like this is how much I watch German football. Like they've got like Vollen, they've got Fofana, they've got on loan. Toussaint, they've got Brendan Aronson as well. Robin Gersons they brought in. Like it's actually you've got some decent players in there. Yeah. I think it'll be like a very entertaining group because Napoli play ridiculous football. Madrid is usually goals in their games. I know they're a bit more well-oiled under Ancelotti, but I think that'll be a fun group. I think that could be a potential for a very fun group. I think it'll probably end up with the two favourites going through, but I don't think there'll be walkovers at all. I think there'll be some interesting games in there. That's just what I want to see. I want to see fun games.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think Napoli could top the group, to be fair, Gareth, only because of injuries that Madrid have sustained. Like I think that's the big. I had them as my favourites going into the season, going into the Champions League. But before the injuries of Courtois, Eder Militao, Vinny Jr., these kind of players, like if they keep, because they're getting unlucky now, which they deserve, by the way. Let me get that in there because they're the luckiest club of all time when it comes to European football. Like every season they get fucking lucky. So it's about time they get some bad luck. But I don't know. I think if they get more injuries, I think Napoli could top the group. I think those two will go through. I agree. I don't think Napoli are as strong as they were last season so far. But obviously, it's only the first 2 seasons. They've won both their games. Still think they're going to have a good season. They're going to challenge for the league. So, yeah, I think it'll be a good group. Union Berlin will put up a fight, like Dylan said. But I do think Madrid and Napoli will be the two that go through.
Yeah, I think Osimhen's going to dab on those in the Bernabeu. Just going to smash him. No, he's not actually going to dab. I mean, but he's going to smash him.
We know you love a dab on top of a mountain, don't we? So.
But yeah, Dan, your thoughts on that group? Who's going through?
I think it'd be silly not to say Napoli and Madrid. Union Berlin away is going to be horrible for both of those sides. Horrible for them. And I think that might be the deciding factor in who actually tops the group. Madrid do look good, even with the injuries. Jude Bellingham FC now, isn't it? But yeah, I expect Madrid to come top. Napoli, I think it's going to be one of those where, like, 2-3 games in, you kind of know who your top two are. But that away fixture in Germany, if that fixture is early doors for them both as well, it will make the last 3 games quite interesting. But yeah, I fully expect it to be Madrid, Napoli, Berlin.
Yeah, I think as well it'd be good for Union Berlin. Again, they can have another crack at Europa League football. It's similar to Newcastle. It's like obviously you want to go through, but actually in terms of like trying to win a trophy, it might be better to like dip into the Europa. We did have a question from Big Will from LiveDuel, and we'll move on now to the English clubs. And Arsenal did get a handy draw with Sevilla being their pot one team and not a giant, which is obviously true. I'll go over the group again: Sevilla, Arsenal, PSV, and Lens. Now, here's the thing: we had a question earlier from Michael as well. I'm torn as Sevilla and PSV. I can see being tough games. You were talking about Sevilla as a United fan as well. Obviously, there's like when Arsenal were first drawn, I didn't realize that how they were doing the draw, and I thought we got Bayern, and I was like, of course. And so I was relieved when it
been that long, has it, mate? It's been that long for you, has it?
Yeah. And of course I was relieved when it was Sevilla, but then you get PSV and Lens. There's an argument to be said for if you've got a big team, a team perhaps weaker than PSV. I'm not going to say any names, and then one of the really small teams. That's an easier group because yes, you've got one really tough game, but these are all competitive games for Arsenal. It's not one where I want to be resting players, which obviously makes the league harder as well. So it's one of those where it's like tricky. It's like it's a good group because Arsenal should be getting out of that. It's embarrassing if Arsenal don't get out of that, but it's one that can easily turn into quite a tough time. And I think, yeah, it's one. I don't know whether I would take it, but what do you think, Dan? Your thoughts on Arsenal's group? Is it one you would swap for United's, for example?
It's been a while since you had to like fathom in Champions League fixtures and rest in players, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we just rested players out the Europa League group. So
the away fixtures in all three of the ties are not going to be easy. Horrible. Sevilla away is just. I'm glad you got. I mean, we have genuinely like it's not a fixture you want. And also, Sevilla are one of them. Like we'll get onto United in a bit, but I don't mind having one big team in the group because it's like a guarantee that you miss them in the next. Sevilla, like you would kind of. I'd probably rather a Real Madrid than a Sevilla, just because then you get the guarantee of not making hit Madrid in the next round. Arsenal get out of that comfortably, though. We had Lens pre-season. They didn't overlook a threat, or didn't. I know it was pre-season.
Sold the best player as well.
Yeah.
Can't see it. Arsenal, Sevilla comfortably getting out. I think I'm intrigued with PSV this season as well. Well, in fact, the whole of Dutch football, just because I feel like they're keeping hold of their players a little bit longer nowadays. And when Dutch football actually does get to produce talent, keep talent, and then integrate it into a system, they often come out better than the name suggests. So I'm not at the level at the moment where I think you should be fearful of any Dutch side at the moment. So yeah, Arsenal, Sevilla, that order. PSV probably third.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll batter Sevilla because they've just signed Lozano, so that's if any chance they get, it will be wasted. Dan, sorry, Dill. Again,
yes.
Is this?
Let me cook with this. Let me cook. My early prediction is Arsenal don't make it out the group.
Yeah,
that is my early prediction. I think Sevilla home and away is going to be tough, mate. You went out. What was it? Did you go out to like Lisbon or something in the Europa League, something like that? You've not looked good. But you've not looked good so far this season. Arteta's playing Partey at right back, White at centre half. I think they're going to be really tough games. I think PSV could be a tough game as well. Obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy left, which is a shame. But my early prediction, Arsenal will go out the group. That's what I'm going for. Because you're going to have to go full strength. You're not looking amazing in the league. I just think it's going to be like United 2012 or like Basel vibes. I just think it's going to happen. You're going to go into the Europa League, and you'll all be sad again, and I'll be very happy.
Fair enough. I wouldn't mind winning the Europa League, but I've said that many times in the last few years, and we've never.
Would you actually? Right now, Arsenal to win the Europa League, that would be disrespectful.
Oh, not now, but if we ended up in it and won it,
I can't see it.
No,
if I offered you, if I offered you, you can guarantee winning the Europa League or take your chances in the Champions League. What would you do?
Oh, I've got to take your chances.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah.
If I was a Newcastle fan, because I've said I think they should. It wouldn't be so bad for them if they dropped out, and then you could. But if I was a Newcastle fan, there's no way I'd say that. It's just as someone who kind of likes them, would like to see them win Europa. Yeah. Luca, your thoughts on that Arsenal group? Do you think it is as easy as Dan's saying it, or do you think it could be tricky, like Dill's saying?
It shouldn't be tricky. It shouldn't be hard at all. I think Arsenal should be able to walk that group pretty comfortably. I think Arsenal go far. depending on who they get in like the round of 16 and the quarterfinals. I think they're one of the favourites to win the Champions League. Obviously, there's a lot of
My
people.
favourite.
Look at Dylan's face like his facial reaction says it all. But listen, like with the team they have, there aren't many teams better than them. I'll be honest. I think Arsenal are one of the better teams in the world right now. I just think it's more like Arteta's arrogance that could cost them, because I don't get how this man, having won nothing relevant in his life, is that arrogant. I can't stand that guy. And I think if he doesn't win the league or the Champions League, he'll get sacked. And he deserves it.
Biggest cup competition in the
Him
world.
and Klopp are easily the two most unlikable managers I've ever seen.
But Klopp's won, so Klopp can
has. He's just a very unlikable guy. But
talk.
Arteta thinks he's fucking mint. You can just tell. Fucking do it then. Don't bottle a league title. Don't fucking pep it and start.
The FA brought in that rule this season, man. Did you see the Arteta rule this season where the manager aren't allowed to leave the box? That was for him. That was solely for him.
But it won't get enforced. It never. That's been a rule for years.
No, I know, but they got you're not allowed out of the box. But Arteta played right back a good 4 or 5 games last season. A good 4 or 5.
Mate, throw it to Partey.
I think it's just his personality, because he's not funny. He's
just unlikable. Like he wasn't.
If like he's a bit cocky, but at least he's a funny guy. And like he's just a really boring fucking ham and cheese meal deal kind of guy with a bottle of water and ready salted crisps, and he acts like it's the best thing ever.
Gareth, why are you shaking your head? If Arsenal don't win the league or the Champions League, what are you going to do? You're going to gas them up? Like, how can you gas the man up off all the money spent? How many years have you been at Arsenal? He's got top 4 once. Like, no, I don't care. He's not a top coach. I made a video on this and people were coming at me.
Yeah, people said that.
What relevant trophy has he won to be defined as a top coach? What has he won?
FA Cup. War a trophy.
No, but he does get put in these debates like, who would you rather have, Pep, Klopp, or Arteta? It's like,
oh yeah, that's silly. But yeah,
I agree with Luca.
But Arsenal. I mean, look, let's put this is how Arsenal get out of the group, right? You got 10 points. Very, very, very rarely doesn't put you in a guaranteed situation where you're getting out of the group. They're getting 6 points first lance. Get 4 points in your next 4 games, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm still sticking with it.
We'll move on from Arsenal. We'll move on to Manchester United, Bayern Munich, Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. We'll come straight to you, Dill. Your immediate reactions. How do you feel about this group, and are you going through?
Today, I feel 18 points. No, I don't mind that group at all, man. Harry Kane we're going to go away to the Allianz with Marcus Rashford up front, and Harry Kane's going to show us exactly what we could have had. Here's what you could have won. But I think it's not bad. Like we were on about earlier with this discussion, would you rather a bigger team and 2 easier, smaller teams? I think we've got that really. Copenhagen and Galatasaray. Galatasaray will be a fierce atmosphere. Graham Souness might come out again and plant a flag in the centre circle. Who knows? But I think we should get by pretty comfortably. But we do it. I'm never sure with this football club anymore, because we look that shit so far this season. We always bottle on the biggest stages, the biggest games. I don't know if a lot of these players have got the stones for it, but we should beat Copenhagen and Galatasaray home and away. That's 12 points. We should be home and dry. Yeah. I think we should be okay. I'm quietly confident, man. It's the history of this club just teaches me never to be confident anymore. But I'm happy with the draw. We've got a big game at Bayern home and away, which is always nice to see, because if you don't make out the group, at least you've tested yourself against a good team. And it is good to test yourself against a top team in the group as well. Not play loads of shit as like City have, and then go and play a big team and be like, oh shit, we're playing somebody who can actually play football now. So I don't mind it. See Harry Kane on telly again over in the UK. Because, that'll be good. I don't mind it. I'm happy with it. And Bayern don't look that good at the minute either, actually, so we could beat them. But Tommy Turtle is a very defensive manager who knows how to get a win. But, yeah, that's such a fucking ramble, that. But I think we'll get through, mate, yeah.
Well, lived up to your name. Luca will do a United sandwich and put you in the middle. Do you think United will get out of that group, or do you think... And also, do you think... Because I think it's quite close between them and Bayern. Like Dill said, Bayern aren't maybe looking their best. If United are up to standard, up to their best, they will certainly be looking to win that group. So do you think it will be as easy as Dill's making out? And do you think they can win it?
I think they'll get through, but I don't think they'll win it. I think Bayern Munich are better than Manchester United. Like, I agree with Dill. Bayern haven't smashed it out for 6 straight away.
Neither have
at the start
United.
of the Bundesliga. But I think when they're going to start cooking, they're going to be one of the best teams in the world. And like, I had them as my favourites to win this Champions League, and I still do. I'm not going to change my mind. Like, I think Bayern have a good chance. I think they're all. I would even say they're the most consistent team in Europe that I've seen. Like every single year, they're there, quarters, semis, finals. Like they're so dominant. These guys are ridiculous. Them and Madrid are the most dominant teams in Europe that I've ever seen. So I think this year they've got a great team. Harry Kane's a great addition to the squad. Tuchel is a defensive coach, which I think doesn't suit them perfectly because they've got so much going forward. That's amazing. But like De Ligt, like Kim and Jay partnership at the back, that's very strong. They got a great team. I think Man United obviously have a good squad as well. I think they'll go through, but I think they'll be a little bit off Bayern Munich. And plus, Man United haven't been that convincing at the start of the season. Injuries as well. They haven't looked that good. I thought they were going to come out the blocks a lot stronger, to be honest. I still think United will get top 4, but I think it'll be more of a top 4 charge and a title charge in England. But yeah, I think Bayern Munich will top it and United will finish second.
Yeah, and to back that comment in the chat, Bayern's form doesn't really matter that much. Champions League nights is a different conversation, and their quality over United will show. There's a very good argument there to say that Champions League nights, often the form, especially in those bigger games, does go out the window, and you'd probably expect them to beat Copenhagen and Galatasaray. One thing I will say is me and producer David were talking beforehand about Copenhagen. Atmosphere is very, very underrated. I think City struggled there. Was it last season or the season before? It's not an easy place to go. And Galatasaray made some serious improvements to their team as well, and arguably have the best atmosphere on Champions League nights in Europe. So they're not easy away games, especially. And if you are not on top form at home, they're teams that can catch you out for sure. So I don't think it's an easy group. Obviously, United will be looking to go through, but I think Galatasaray especially could do something. Dan, your feelings, are you more on what Dill's saying? Are you a bit more pessimistic? How are you feeling?
I'm still looking forward to us getting out the first phase when trying to break down anybody like Wolverhampton Wanderers. So to think about Bayern Munich away is a little bit of a stretch. I'm looking forward to it, though. I've actually watched every Bayern game this season, believe it or not. I think they look quite good, you know. Like the scoreline doesn't really suggest domination. I mean, obviously the 4-0 the other night, but that was 2 goals late on. It wasn't necessarily a foregone conclusion for the most of it. Tuchel's got them coming out of the gates, man. They are pressing high, and it is constant, and it's up and down all the time. And when you get, they're wingers as well. Like it's just there's pace everywhere, quality up front with Harry Kane, Musiala pulling strings in the middle. Bayern, man for man, have got an extremely good squad this year, and obviously they brought in Kim as well. That assures the back as well. So I like Bayern's chances for the Champions League this year. Genuinely, I think they need to be talked about a little bit more respect than what they have done at this point. The games against United are going to be good just because the way they like to play, the way they like to come out, the way they like to play a high line. And it's just going to open space for United. And United don't necessarily look the best structurally either. It's got 3-3 written all over at home and away. So it's going to be fun. For me, when I look at United, I think if we pick up 7 points at home and we'll qualify with our away games, I think that's probably fair to say. I think Bayern win the group. I'm not bothered if they win the group. And I think what is overlooked nowadays in the Champions League is you must win your group. You have to win your group to get yourself an easier draw in the next round. That's gone. Like, it's just, as long as you get out of the group, you get out of the group. We're going to avoid, if we get out of the group, we're going to avoid Bayern in the next round. So I think it's a very good draw. If Bayern into what should be 2 comfortable opponents. So I see us getting out. I'm really looking forward to, even despite the results, the Bayern Man United games, because I think stylistically, it's just going to be fun.
Yeah, I just wanted to say as well, I didn't really think about the Bayern's players and how good they are individually, like Dan said, like in moments and stuff. And that's what the Champions League is. That's why sometimes you need a player like Haaland who can always score you a goal, because you can play terribly in knockout competitions. It really doesn't matter. It's not like it's the course of a season. So with like Sane, Gnabry, Kane, players like that who can just pull a goal out of thin air, we don't really have that many players like that. So they are going to be dangerous. But if they go and sign Scott McTominay as their new number 6, and I'd back them to finish bottom, because that would be absolutely fucking hilarious. But I'm gonna be real. Yeah, Bayern on top of the group. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think it'd be silly to say otherwise.
Yeah.
But against the other 2 in the group as well, I just feel like Man United should pick up 6 points. And when if you're that comfortable doing that, even if we pick up 4 in the away fixtures against those 2, there's your 10 points. I'll be okay.
Yeah, you should get enough points against those 2 for sure. You would like be disappointed not to. But of course, there is always, every year, there's a team that shocks you in the group stages and does really well, and there's a team that disappoints you. Could United be the team to shock? Could Galatasaray be the team to shock? They're my pick. I think they're going to be much more difficult, not necessarily to go through, but I think with some of the signings they've made, the squad they've got, their atmosphere, they're really up. They are really, really up for the Champions League this season. They're like making a big deal about it. And look, that could be hyping up too much from their side of things and overshooting it, but easily as well. I think they could trouble United or Bayern. I would expect them to finish third for sure. I think with the right result against the United or something like that, or a Bayern, they could even squeeze through. I really do think it's a little bit harder than people are kind of making out, because they haven't really done anything for a while. But yeah, and Mertens scores the win against United. That's my prediction. There you go. I wanted Galatasaray against Napoli. Yeah.
Wilfried Zaha, man, as well. Champions League.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's the kind of player
cool,
who's
actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be horrible to play against in a Champions League context.
Especially away from home. Look, nothing's a foregone conclusion. It never is, but you have to err on the side of caution. United should have enough. I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about the draw. I'm just worried about next weekend. But then that will progress obviously as the draw goes. But when you look at it on the face of things, we should get out. I mean, when I say 6 points at home against the other two, that should put you instead where as long as you pick up 1 or 2 points away from home, you're through, and it's as simple as that. Barring Bayern shocks, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to Dill. I've given my team that I think is going to maybe do a little bit better than people think. Not necessarily go through, but challenge some of the big boys or whatever. Is there a team that stands out for you that maybe will go through it if that people aren't expecting, or at least if not, that you think can challenge some of the bigger teams?
Yeah, I'll do my quick little thing like that now of a shock. So as I've said, I'm not going to lie, lads, I don't know much about general European football. So I like the look of Union. Berlin's a beautiful city. I've been to their ground. So I'm going to back Union to be a bit of a shock and potentially get out of their group. Arsenal are going to be my biggest failures in the group stage. So they're my two predictions. Union to get out of the group, Arsenal not to. You've got to be bold. It's boring to sit here and just say, Madrid are going to win it. So at least I'll try and provide something semi-exciting. And Graven Birch is going to Liverpool, by the way. I've just seen that. So well done, Scousers, 40 million.
Not really the profile I expected them to get, but there you go. Luca, who's your team that you think will surprise people, and who's your team that you think will disappoint people?
I hope Celtic go through, man. I hope they go through. I've always liked Celtic. So I'm backing them. Obviously, Dylan was saying how shit they were.
Well, they are, mate. They are shit. They are shit. And I don't mind Celtic either, but they are shit.
I hope Celtic go through. But I actually think in Arsenal's group, PSV will finish second. I think Sevilla will finish third. I just think it's not really unpopular opinion. I just think they always finish third to just go win Europa League. So that's my logic behind it. And team that will flop, Lazio. It's disappointing. They were so good last season in the league, but the start they've had, I can't see them going through. And it's a shame, really, because they played really good football last year. Other than Napoli, they were probably the second best to football inside in Italy in terms of on the eye. They were very
out of the big teams for sure.
Yeah, they were great. And this season, man, they've started so badly. So probably Lazio is a surprising one. So I'd say they're going to be the big flops. I don't think any of the massive clubs will get knocked out in the group stage.
I think PSG potentially could have potential for that, I suppose.
They could, but I think they're still stronger.
I think I just mean if you're going to pick anyone, realistically, besides my biased Arsenal shout, it could be them.
Yeah,
with the group they've got.
Yeah.
Dan, who are your surprise teams? Who's going to surprise people? Who's going to disappoint?
Oh, Man City are finishing fourth. No, I think both of mine are going to be from the same group. Give me Milan and Dortmund for 1 and 2. Newcastle and PSG going out.
Okay, so that's interesting then. So you're saying, I think a lot of people will look at Dortmund and will be like, that's potentially the weakest team in there, just because of how they bottled the league last year, and then also the fact that Newcastle strengthened and look pretty decent this year. Milan have obviously strengthened, and obviously PSG will be favourites. I think naturally Dortmund have just lost their best player. A lot of people look at them, but you're backing them to go through, are you? Or are you just saying you wouldn't be surprised?
No. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be surprised. No, I'm genuinely backing them to go through. And it's more to do with, I don't know what PSG are going to look like and how are Newcastle going to deal with this. Because, I mean, their eggs are still going to be in the Premier League basket. And when you look at their depth, it's there, it exists, but the quality and the profile, the players which don't necessarily play week in, week out, isn't there like sub left midfielder, that Anderson kid as well? Like it's not, it doesn't scream quality. I don't know, man. I guess they got Lewis Hall at left back, Lewis Hall, Danburn. I don't know. I'm just not overly sold on Newcastle at the moment. Not European football anyway. I think they'll have a very good season in England. But yeah, and then there's PSG rebuild versus two teams who know how the Champions League works. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. My biggest shock is I think Celtic might pick up a point.
No, they'll definitely get a point. One of those home games, they'll at least draw. David in the chat actually speaking about Celtic, saying, I always back Celtic, but I never put my money on them. I would love it if they went through, though. I think Celtic do have this thing, this romance with the Champions League, that, especially after that Barcelona game, people of our generation always love that because the atmosphere is always great, and they'll always try and make it as tough as they possibly can. Sometimes they get battered and sometimes they grind it out, and usually they get a point or two or maybe even three. But so I don't think that would be a shock personally. But,
I think the home ties, they could definitely pick up points in it. I was being slightly tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, they'll batter them.
I mean, just look at Rangers the other night away from home. Like that Scottish football at the moment. I can't.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair. Like I said, for my one, Galatasaray, I think could really surprise people. I think I do think they'll end up going into the Europa League, and I think there could be a real problem there. I'd love to see them win it as well. My favorite Turkish team, coincidentally, and for Dries Mertens as well, obviously. And for my disappointment, I'm going to go with Real Madrid. I think they will go through, but I don't think they'll be particularly amazing. And Napoli are finishing top of that group. James, Juice Football, our very own, is saying that Feyenoord are winning it all. And that's where we're going to end it with a prediction of who is going to win. I just want you one team and why you think they're going to do it. Dylan, let's go to you first.
The one team that's going to win the whole Champions League, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay, Luca.
Okay.
Bayern Munich. One word, dominance. That's it.
That's it. That's a very compelling argument, to be fair. Dill, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm going to back Barcelona to do it, as Welsh just said in the chat. Xavi bringing the Champions League back to the new camp. I think it'd be quite romantic. And the only other team that I could see realistically winning it that I was going to say is Man City. And I would rather shit in my hands and clap than sit here and say Man City are going to win it back to back. So I'm going to go Barcelona.
Fair enough. Dan?
I think it's one. I'll give Arsenal really big outsiders, but it's one of three. It's Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and that other side from Manchester. And as I'm sworn United. To an oath from birth that I can never opt for them winning the Champions League. It's going to be one of the other two. Give me Bayern, man. Give me Harry Kane lifting the Champions League trophy, just smiling away at all the haters that he's had to put up with for the last 12 years. Give me Bayern.
Yeah, I like that because it goes along with my theory that Bayern are winning the treble, England are winning the Euros, and Harry Kane's going to win the Ballon d'Or.
Come on!
But unfortunately, that's not actually going to happen because Arsenal are going to win the Champions League. We're going to be a bit disappointing in the league, I think. I think it's the league title isn't going to be on by the time kind of February comes around. And I think we're going to throw all our eggs in the basket. We'll end up finishing, I think, third or fourth. But we're going to make a charge for that Champions League. And it's going to come off. Big Declan Rice is going to be the big difference maker. And in the final, you know who's scoring the winner. It's Mohamed El Neni.
Hell.
That's my biased prediction. My serious prediction is also Bayern Munich. I think obviously they haven't maybe looked as great as they could, but I think they'll sort things out. I think Kim Min-jae is so good and he will be a big level raiser for them. Harry Kane as well. They've got their Lewandowski replacement, that world-class striker who's going to bang the goals in. They've got plenty around him who can create, who can score. Musiala, I think, might have a really, really great year. And potentially you could be looking at that as your Ballon d'Or winner even. Yeah, no, I think he could have a really, really good year. I think he's
Fair.
absolutely unbelievable. If they win the Champions League, if they win the treble kind of thing, you know.
Some of
They'll
these
give it to
odds, by the
Messi.
way.
They'll give it to Messi, mate. Even then.
Yeah, he's he'll win the North American Champions League, and how can you deny him that? If he wins the Copa America, though, fair enough.
No, it's not fair enough.
Well, we're all being hipsters, aren't we? City are going to win it back to back, man.
Yeah, let's be real. By the way, those odds that Will's just put in the chat are ridiculous. I've just looked at them. So, yeah, Man City, Bayern, Real Madrid, Arsenal, PSG, Barca, us, then Napoli. At the top, like 8.
How are United higher than Napoli?
Because we're fucking English, mate. English is best.
Well, the Arsenal shirt's fallen down, so that's not a good sign.
We're 20-1. Arsenal are 10-1. How are Arsenal 10-1 to win the Champions League?
Because this is the thing about the championship. This is why I hate predicting it, because the best team doesn't always win it, and when they do, it's actually just like poetry, isn't it? Like that's how it should be.
The best
This is
team
how
rarely wins.
Champions League. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
it's luck of the draw. It's decisions on the night. It's
Big
injuries
moments,
during
yeah.
key games. It's there's so many different tangibles, but
Referees fixing it for Real Madrid.
that's why I said
Yeah.
it's between 4. Because I mean, Eric Ten Hag's already said it, and he said we've already shown we can beat everybody, but we need to do it consistently. Our football doesn't allow us to do that consistently, but you don't need to be consistent to win a cup competition. So Man United could win it too.
No,
Yeah.
no chance.
We've always got a chance, mate. We've always got a chance.
I shouldn't have looked at Luca when I said that, because I wasn't even believing what I was saying.
David in the chat is giving Man City as a serious prediction. Nobody has found out how to break them yet. Always superior. With
They're
Haaland,
just
they've obviously
annoying,
got a
Man
chance.
City. Like nobody likes them. They're just fucking
They're
annoying.
boring, man. They are boring.
I
Like,
hate, like they're just. If it wasn't for Inter last year in the final, I would have supported whichever team against them. If it wasn't an Italian team, I can't stand them guys. Them and Chelsea piss me off the most in England.
Oh, City for me. But,
Chelsea have got very annoying.
It's just the Chelsea fan base, man. They're one of the worst in the country.
Yeah.
I don't hate Chelsea. For me, it's Liverpool, City, Arsenal. They're by far and away the top 3. Gotta be. By the way, I've said Bayern are going to win the Champions League for every year I've been on TikTok, and they never have. So the one year it's going to fucking happen, isn't it?
Yeah, you can bring out and I told you so, man.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. They're a safe bet every year because they're always in there to win it. They're like, that's how consistent they are.
Yeah.
Will's asked in the chat which team is going to lose all 6 games. I mean, some of you have been dissing Celtic, but Celtic,
how did you know my answer?
It's going to be Antwerp.
Antwerp might shock people.
Yeah,
I think they'll get points, especially at home. They'll get points
Against
against Shakhtar and potentially Porto. They could even draw against Barcelona. I think they're an underrated team.
I was going to say Young Boys, but they're also playing Red Star and Leipzig, who can be a bit ropey too. So they can easily
and
get
City.
a point.
I think I might beat City.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's got to be Celtic or... Do you know what? Fuck it. I don't like Scottish people. No, that's horrible. I don't like Scottish people.
Clip it.
No, I'm going Celtic. And I do prefer Celtic to Rangers as well, because Rangers shag the Queen and the fucking government and that, so it's weird.
And you prefer them to Liverpool as well?
Yeah. No, Rangers fans are odd, man. The whole life's fucking the Union Jack and the monarchy.
Yeah,
really
they are a
kind
weird
of
club.
existence. I've got a mate who's a Rangers fan, and he's just obsessed with the monarchy and hating Celtic. That's pretty much all his life is. So, yeah. But Celtic or Antwerp, I'm going to go Celtic because it'd be fucking funny. Because Scottish football fans think they're so good. Oh, if we come in the Premier League, we'll finish top 7 easy. No, you wouldn't. You get relegated because you're shite. You got Cameron Carter-Vickers playing at centre half. You shit. They're going to lose every game. That's
former Spud, mates. Former Spud.
Exactly. He's got a fucking loser in him.
We've got some more comments in the chat, and then we'll finish off. James saying the odds are based off what people are betting on. Loads of English people betting on their English sides, blah, blah, blah. Will saying Arsenal do like tilting a poll. It's just that this one costs money. Also true. David saying another thing that fans are always tempted to think of now, squad depth and injuries would devastate a team like Arsenal. Less so than last year, but then we've already got one long-term injury. And yeah, like if Declan Rice gets injured, we are absolutely, it's over.
I think if Arteta gets injured, Arsenal might win everything.
And we'll finish on this question from Will. Who is going to be the top scorer of the Champions League? This is the first Champions League post Messi and Ronaldo. So who's going to be the top scorer?
I'm going to go. My heart says Harry Kane because Bayern probably will go far. Kane's so clinical. But Man City have such an easy group that they're going to be winning every game 6-0. So it's going to be Erling Haaland. I'm just going to be honest. It's going to be again.
Is it that simple?
Yeah, I think it is that simple. Yeah, like it's Kane or Haaland for me, really. And Bayern have got some tougher games in the groups. City will get an easy draw again. There's no one else. I know you're going to say Nketiah or Osimhen, mate, but I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Haaland to be the Champions League top scorer. Like, let's be honest.
Dan, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you straight away you just think of the teams with an out-and-out goal scorer, don't you? The old school number 9, Osimhen, Kane, Haaland. Give me some more names because I'm running out already.
Anthony Martial, mate, Rasmus Højlund,
Killy.
Callum Wilson.
I can't say PSG are going out of the groups and saying Mbappe. I could say Kane on the back of Bayern, but the deal's already hit the nail on the head, I think. Haaland is stat padding in this group stage.
Yeah, it'll get about 10 before the groups are done. Even if City go out the quarterfinals, he'll still be top scorer.
Hopefully they qualified after 4 games and he just gets rested for the next 2 and then maybe Kane. But Haaland, yeah.
Luca?
Yeah, it's probably, to be fair, it's probably between Haaland and Kane. I like Mbappe though the most. Like, I think PSG, but they have a hard group. He's probably not going to score that many. But like last season, he scored like 7 goals in 6 games in the Champions League. It was ridiculous numbers he put up, to be fair. But yeah, it'll probably be Kane or Haaland.
One name we haven't mentioned yet plays for this club. Robert Lewandowski often does like a stat.
No, he's not been good so far.
Yeah, but he will. He loves to stat pad in the group stage as well. And Porto, Shakhtar, Antwerp, he can definitely get some goals in there. So I don't think it's as clear cut as Haaland. He's certainly the favourite though. But yeah, it is going to be Osimhen. Napoli are going to the final. Unfortunately, going to lose to Arsenal, and that's just a shame. But,
who do you support? Arsenal at Napoli? Arsenal, innit?
Arsenal number 1. Yeah.
I don't understand this Xavi.
Napoli,
I don't get the Xavi Barca hype at the moment. I don't.
No, they're overrated. Yet. They're not even the best team in Spain. Atletico are right now.
Because when you asked the question about like who do you think the shock early exit's going to be, I had to quickly check Barca's group, and they've been nice a little bit. If there was one other team in there, I might have edged that. But
yeah, Porto love a group stage.
Lewandowski isn't finishing top scorer. No.
Have you seen that Lamine Yamal guy?
Oh mate, he's the next Messi.
Class,
I've watched like 5 minutes highlights. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's class. Like, he's a proper baller.
I'll put it in a diary, man. I'll trust your word on this one, but no, I haven't seen him.
It's the thing. Any injury, they've got that academy, and they'll just have the next.
I know there's that. They always keep these same profile of players, so they always play the same way. They'll always have a chance, but it's just I don't know something. The quality of guaranteed consistency when it matters is not there. It just
Xavi's a big game bottler as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we knocked him out last season. Fuck me, how shit are you?
And he bottled that from a tactical perspective.
Yeah.
Ten Hag schooled him, pulled his pants down.
My baldy.
But was you Ten Hag out, Dylan?
No, when have I ever said that?
No, but I just made that up now.
Oh, okay. I do moan about him in some of my videos, but I'm giving him time, and I will be very sad if it doesn't work out.
There's a few United fans I've seen that are Ten Hag out.
Yeah, because they're absolute spoons. That's why. Like, they're just idiots. Just give it a bit of time. Like, Arsenal have started badly. I know they've got 1 more point than us, but they've had easier games too. Like, we've not looked great, but United historically have never really, since Sir Alex has gone, have never started a season well. I can't remember the last time we really, truly started really well. Like,
what about that lockdown season? No, did you start well in that lockdown season or not?
I don't think so. No, I think we started well 1 season under Ollie, didn't we? Where we were top at Christmas or around near top around then. But usually we take a bit of time to get going, and the system's changed again. We brought in players in key positions again. Yeah. Pogba scored a deflected volley away at Burnley in January in a football winning the fucking lot, and then we lost like the next 3 games. And we're again. We actually went top when we won that, didn't we? We went City with equal games in January, and we finished like fucking about 20 points behind them. But I'm going to stop going through past trauma.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That has been the LiveDuel reaction to LiveDuel Group Chat reaction to the Champions League draw. I think it's certainly going to be a very interesting season. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you 3 for joining me, and we'll see you Tuesday evening for another stream.